All right, we're about to kick off here. Hope you enjoy it. We've got trying new things this week, so we'll cross all available fingers and make sure everything is working. So with a bit of luck, this will all be good, I hope. Okay, so just make sure everything's gone here, everything's right there, all good here. All right, it's 10 o'clock, let's go. And that's my little tribute to Luna, Alison Reynolds' cat, who had some nasty surgery and has now got a scar to go with her skinless body, which seems sort of cruel, but in some ways it would mean the cat is more badass than ever before. I would like to welcome you here to this Ed Dale live stream. Fantastic show lined up for you, not because of me, but because of who I am interviewing, Nathan Chan. Now, if I can bring up Nathan's photo here, hopefully, and still continue speaking if I'm that good. Wow, look at that. I am that good. How good is this? Nathan is a fantastic story on a whole number of levels, and you'll hear that story. You'll also hear some amazing things about how he's driving leads via Instagram to his MagCast to the tune of about 100 sign-ups a day. Yes, you heard that right, 100 sign-ups a day. So I can't wait to show you that. Also, we hear some his worst week as a Magcaster and how he makes the magazine look so good, and you'll see lots of that because as we're doing the interview I will be showing you plenty of his fabulous Magcast. You know, it's funny, digital publishing has been a thing that, you know, has been motoring along beautifully for this whole time, and here we are. We'll just go back to here. There we are. It has been going along this whole time really, really well, and I want to make sure that you know that this digital publishing is really going beautifully, and it really fits into our theme this year as we're in the 10th year of the challenge. And it's a word I want you to get used to. It's niche style. And it seems to me, and I've said this a couple of times, but it's worth repeating, there are three types of business. There is the unicorn style business, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, these exponential growth businesses. And bless you if you want to do one of those businesses. You have to be prepared to give your life for 2 to 3 years, working 7 days a week with incredible intensity and often no money until the thing takes off. But it's a very legitimate thing to do and a very worthy thing to do. Make no mistake. To admit, I am partial to this second style of business, which is this niche style business, which is a business that delivers, you know, a great income, a six-figure income, but allows you to do the stuff that you want to do. So it allows you to live where you want to live. It allows you to put your kids in the school or the college that you want them to do. It allows you to live without debt, pays for the house where you live and you live where you want to live, all of these things. But ultimately it realizes that the business itself is a means to an end. Now, it may be that you're very passionate about that market, but my view is, well, you've got to make enough money in that market to be able to spend a full-time, you know, to be full-time in it. Because if you're not full-time, somebody else will be full-time. The good news is that you can start very part work your way forward. And that's why I want to highlight these stories of people that you may or may not have heard of that have done exactly that. Because I don't know about you, but I find understanding people's processes and how they are incredibly fascinating. And to me, perhaps the most important thing, you know, it's all well and good to see the end product and all the success and the wonderful things. That's great for what it's worth. But show you the trials, the tribulations, and you'll hear with Nathan, he had a beauty. that to me is as important. It's something that I want to highlight doing this series. Also take advantage of the live streaming, and I want to do a shout out, and you'll hear from Gideon. He is a subject of an interview. I want to shout out to Gideon Chadwick, who actually introduced this whole technology, the Wirecast technology that I'm using today, crossing all available fingers that it's working well. Hey, if you want to tweet at me during this broadcast, at @ed_Dale, and I'll have all that. We're baby steps now. In theory, if I go here and I touch this and I do this, I'll be able to put your tweets up here and feature them during the broadcast. Pretty cool. And yes, they're moderated, so if you do something silly or rude, well, you just... Very cool. But that's a classic example of some of the things that you can do with this environment. And I must say, I am using it totally at its most basic level at the moment. So there you have it. So without further ado, I think it's time to get to the interview. I would love to get your feedback. Oh, yeah, you're watching this on YouTube, okay? Now, or you might be seeing it after the event, because hopefully it'll be recorded, and that's one of the reasons you use Wirecast, because you can do all of these things. So after during now, in fact you can do it right now, underneath this window, somewhere here, is a subscribe button. And it'll either have a little tick and say you subscribed, or it may not. Please hit that subscribe button. That would be awesome. Please hit the like button below if you love the content of what I'm doing here in the live streaming, mainly because there's a couple of assholes who just love to hit the dislike button because I pissed them off at some point in history. What can I do? You can't please everybody. I love to get those likes, because if I don't mention it, then all the people, there's about 2 of them, but hey, you can't please everybody. I really hope you enjoy this. I hope you tell your friends. In the run-up to this year's challenge, which I'm so excited about, it's 10 years of the challenge, this broadcast will become a very key component. I can't tell you how big, how different, how amazing this year's challenge is going to be. So let people know about it, and I hope I'll be providing a lot of inspiration, a lot of background, and a lot of pre-season information during these live streams as we build up to the challenge, because again, we've got these wonderful technologies now that enable you to do this. And again, thank you, Gideon Chadwick. Double thumbs up, and I've interviewed Gideon Chadwick. Gidwig is his Harry Potter Hogwarts name. It's Gidwig to his mates. But Gideon is an amazing YouTube expert and showed me around the traps with this stuff, and has some cool techniques in terms of advertising on YouTube as well. But I'm saving Gideon for a future broadcast that you'll hear very, very soon. Let's get all of this fired up. So now I'm doing multiple things here, so let's see how we can go with this Wirecast action. So I'm going to set up my iPad screen here like so, because I would love to show you the amazing Founder magazine as we're talking to Nathan. And without further ado, let's bring Nathan online. And I can't wait for you guys to hear this interview. It's fantastic. So let's get cracking and welcome Nathan Chan. Everybody, welcome. It's Ed Dale here again, and I have a very exciting guest today. I'm going to be interviewing Nathan Chan. Now, I remember a couple of years ago when Nathan first started his magazine, he interviewed on Skype, and it's fair to say he was a little bit nervous about the whole thing, and it was a bit grim, but he got through it. He got through it, and I'm feeling nervous because he has taken it and bit it. He's interviewing some of the most famous on the planet. And I really want to talk to him about all of that and his journey today with his fantastic MagCast founder. If you hang around, and he's doing some amazing with Instagram, which you just see and listen to. So welcome, Nathan.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction, Ed. I'm really excited to be here and be on the other side of the microphone.
Do you remember that interview?
Oh, do I ever? Do you remember the kind of questions I was asking you? Like, they're like, I don't know how I should position myself. Is it for young entrepreneurs or isn't it? And you just gave me all this gold advice. So thank
Oh,
you.
that's good. I'm glad. That we were able to get the shakes. You have literally gone on to create one of the most popular magazines on the newsstand, full stop, and quite deservedly so. And I want to sort of go through all of that with you. But I'd love to. What were you doing before you started digital publishing?
Mm. I was I was working in an IT job.
Yeah.
It was a support job.
Hmm.
So I did my first degree in IT, and then I went off into industry and I started working at an accounting firm. Terrible. So I moved to a travel company. I was doing IT support at that travel company. I I really enjoyed marketing. When I did my first degree, I did a couple of electives.
Huh.
So I thought I'd go back to university and do my master's in marketing and eventually move into a marketing job.
Yep.
And then I thought, oh, okay, well, I couldn't actually get a job in marketing, which was really looking for a job and just about to finish up my degree. Not even the company that I was working at would hire me. So during that period, I was like, okay, well, maybe I can fuse my love of technology and IT marketing and do. That's what challenge and finding you, and then yeah, landing on MagCast.
Fantastic. And the challenge. Do
Yes.
you remember what topic you did it on?
Yeah, yeah. This is going to be a real good one. You're going to
Yeah.
love this.
No, they're always good. That's why I love asking.
I did. I created a domain and a
Hmm.
website called bestsmellingcologne.net.
You,
And I I in my mind at the time this grand scheme was going to sell people aftershave and men's perfume by writing reviews when you can't even review it unless you smell it. So it's absolutely ridiculous, but it's like you say, like the first thing you do something else, and you know,
exactly the good old difference between deliberate and emerging strategy, which is the fancy way for it.
Mm.
So yes, so emerging strategies, because the magazine started out. Now it was started out called something else,
Yes,
and about the start of starting the magazine, and because of course it's called Day, UNDR. It's the with dropping a vowel.
yep, like Tumblr.
Yeah,
They're a
exactly.
bit
Absolutely. I mean, it's very important to spell that way these days. But talk to us about starting out. What was it like publishing that first?
so I was finishing up my marketing degree and I purchased Magcast before I left to France to finish up my degree. And I said to
Hmm,
myself, when I come back, I'm going to give this magazine thing a shot. I was late to the piece. Like when you
yeah.
launched the Magcast and everyone was launching, some people were up to like their sixth, eighth issue by the time I'd launched,
Mm,
which was 2013. I started working on it in December and I went through many different designers because I wanted to stand out from the rest. I knew that if what I was going to do was going to be taken seriously and the kind of vision that like I didn't even think that then,
mm.
but I just knew I wanted the design to look good and I knew that any apps in the store they have to look good. So quite I spent a lot of time looking for a great design, three different designers before I found the one that I'm working with still to this day. And I actually went to his wedding in December, which was really cool.
Now we'll come back to that actually, because this is that is a great story. But talk us through, because that you identified something which even we didn't really early on identify. I think you were one first to really get this, because you really did make the magazine look beautiful. It looked really, really top shelf. So, talk about, a lot of people have a lot of fear about outsourcing and getting in designers. Explain sort of the process of going through the three designers to get to, because the designer that you have now is awesome, and as you say, I think you went to the wedding in India, right?
Yeah. He's from India
Yeah,
in Delhi.
yeah. It's an astounding story in and of itself. So take us through that process. Why did the other three not work out? What did you learn from that process? Because now you're a little bit of a mini empire going on, but how take us through that first outsource, because would it be fair to say that's the first time you were outsourcing?
Yes.
So take us through it. What lessons did you learn, and how did you grow to find a great designer in the end?
Well, I guess the biggest lesson I learned is you need to find you need to pitch for a long-term business relationship. I think another thing you need to learn is with designers, they never stick to deadlines, no matter what. Whether they're from here in Australia or overseas, it's very difficult to get designers to stick to a deadline. But the biggest takeaway I've found, test projects and working with that person. Went through these three different designers. One of them, I found that he designed a few different other MagCasts, and then two others. The other I went through, I was searching through Elance, and simple, just put up a job ad. I remember I went to one of your seminars and you gave this tip, and I still use it to this day when I'm looking for work. You put in a question like, what's your favorite movie, or someone on character, and those pieces of advice that you gave really have served me really well. And you just do a test project, and if you go up and back, and you go up and back, more than 2 or 3 times, it's still not the quality that you want it to be at in terms of design work. Just be prepared to just pay a small portion and just keep moving on. Just be prepared to, I guess, fire fast and hire slowly.
Yeah.
And I just used that principle when I ended up finding Karan, and he's absolutely brilliant, and we've become great friends, and we've got a great working relationship, and the rest is kind of history. But I've used those kind of core principles to just test, search for people looking for a long-term business relationship, hire on character, and just work with them, see how you feel, and then you can take it from there.
And so the first thing that really, the design was special, and it really stood, like, it looked super duper professional. What do you think what make that you think paid off?
Yeah, the design was a big one, Ed, because I purchased MagCast. I started the magazine still while I was working my full-time job, so I didn't leave or do anything drastic.
Yep.
And obviously when I started, I launched negative, and obviously my operating costs would be more than most. However, they were still under, still under 1,000, and I built up the magazine to run at operating costs and then run at a profit, then replace my income, and the rest is history, and I left my job.
Yeah.
So I think the design was a big move that I made. And then I think another big move that I made that a lot of magcasters today I see is they just didn't stick with it. Like, as me and you've discussed, like, we've got the magazine, but we've got all these other assets, massive social channels. We're really hitting marketing hard, list building hard in this past couple of weeks. I'm really, creating these training products and all these other things, and just constantly just showing up single day and just committing to just doing and I love doing this. That has really paid off because I've stuck it out more than most, and I've just kept excelling and advancing. So that was I don't know if there's a strategy, but it's just who I am. I just attack things. I think, I don't know what other
Well, let me ask
early
you.
stage moves that I made.
Well, let me ask you the opposite of that question. What were decisions that you made early on that turned out not to be right and that you course corrected on?
I didn't launch a podcast. I said I was never going to launch. I should have done that earlier. I never focused on building an email list. I should have done that earlier. I never focused on having like a decent website and producing content. For a long time, we just had this very, very basic homepage. Like it was pretty much a landing page and a support page. Um, and social, capitalizing on that, which I should have earlier. And I never thought big enough. You know, that I'm interviewing now, like I'll tell you just one crazy story of many.
Yep.
Like this Saturday, I'm interviewing Tony Robbins on Skype. I've had in the past couple of days, Oprah Winfrey's PR team because they wanted to work with me on OPRAH in future issues and work with me. I never thought those kind of.
I've heard of any of those people. I don't know. Just why are you playing around with all these small fry? I'm just glad I'm on a cover. I would just not make the cut these days.
Yeah, sorry. I'm going for like Elon Musk now, Steve Wozniak. These are the kind of people that I want to founder. So I didn't think nowhere near big enough when I first started. The first person that I had on the front cover in the first issue was a stock image. It wasn't even a successful entrepreneur. So
Actually, I don't know how much you want to go into detail or not. I'd really love it if you could at least address the situation maybe generically without mentioning names.
Yeah, sure.
It's such a awful story, I think, that I'd love to tell. So, unfortunately, the name of your magazine was very similar to a traditional magazine in the United States. Do you want to worry about what happened and how eventually it got resolved?
Yeah, sure. So that was another big mistake I didn't mention. I stupidly named the magazine not a very smart name. And that's probably why now with Founder, I took out the I know, and I own the trademark for that name now. And I know that no one will ever or will have ever had anything similar to that.
Yeah.
So there's not even a Founder with an E magazine out there. But I had to take out the E because what happened was 5 months in when I started the magazine, it was called something else. It wasn't called Founder. So I had to change the name after 6 months. So one morning I woke up to an email from a lawyer that said, "Hello, my name is so-and-so from Dallas State, Texas. I'm a trademark infringement lawyer. If you didn't know already, you're being sued for trademark infringement by this company. You should totally get me to represent you. I'm a hotshot lawyer, and I, in fact, know the judge quite well, this and that. Please contact me as soon as possible." And I woke up to that. As
so it wasn't even the actual injured party. It was some lawyer who was actually some pretty decent prospecting chops. Actually, if you look, we can look back and laugh now, but it was a lawyer actually, and then offering to represent. So how did that make you feel?
Oh, you cannot imagine. Like I was waking up, like I woke up just to go to my day job, and then I received that email. Founder is my first real business. I never thought in my life I would be sued, and I was just freaking out. The first thing I did was call one of my mentors, and you included. You were extremely supportive, and you helped me work through it. I just felt so horrible. It was such a bad experience. During that period, I broke up with my girlfriend, who I actually got back with, but I just broke up with her, and I had my housemate at the time also moving house, so I had to find another housemate getting sued. So it was a really traumatic time for me, and in the end, it all worked out.
So how did you get control of that? Because it's never, trust me, it's never a good day when you receive a summons. It always stuffs up the day, regardless of how much in the right or wrong you are. So how did you dig yourself out of that? Because I think that'd be a real lesson for people.
Well, I was pretty lucky through my support network. One of my mentors, he's been sued multiple times, so he
all the best mentors have.
Yeah. So he kind of just tried to put me on a level, make me a little bit more level-headed about it. And then, funnily enough, the company that I worked for, one of their high-up directors used to be a lawyer, and he's savvy, and he helped me work through it all.
Oh,
And also the CEO of that company, he helped me work through it all as well. He's one of my other mentors. So what ended up happening was I got that email, but then it took me at least, because I had to work out whether it was spam or not. I didn't know what was going on. Didn't know what was true. I didn't know what to do. Didn't know whether it was a trap. Who knew what was going on? So I at first established that it was the real deal, and then I actually got an email from the company's lawyer saying this is what's happening, and then I was actually served. So, I waited until I actually got served. So I got, a FedEx signed off on the package, and it's, you are being served. You are being sued for trademark infringement because you're confusing. You are, we believe you're causing confusion in the marketplace.
yeah.
And long story short, I, worked through it with the lawyer the ex-lawyer at the company I worked for at the time, and he helped me work through it. And we just sent quite a few emails up and back. He helped me emails, and we said pretty much, I'm going to change the name. We're going to pretty much make sure that whatever is out there doesn't exist. And then, okay, and then they sent me some paperwork that they wanted me to sign off, and they tried to charge me a decent amount of money. And actually, I learned a really good trick from this lawyer where I just changed the name, scribbled out all the stuff where they said I owe them money, signed it off and sent it back to them, and then they signed it off and sent it back to me. So I never even actually had to pay them any money. It was really good because they got a win. So that I learned was, these guys, they just want the win. So it didn't matter about the money. They were just trying to collect their fees.
Yep.
So, they got a win, and I changed the name. And to be honest, Ed, it's been, imagine if it happened now, how much collateral I have out there, how much stuff I'd have to change, all that. Like, it happened making ridiculous amounts of money. It wasn't my livelihood, you know what I mean? So it was a blessing and a really good lesson learnt, and that's how I overcame it, really.
Yeah. Great thing, and this is a funny little thing, but I'm very thankful too that because it was a digital magazine, you didn't have to pulp the issues. You just literally changed the front covers. So my front cover is still in existence with the new name. So I'm particularly happy about that, so I can compare myself to all names. And this is something that I'd like to ask you about, because the interviews you are getting, Seth Godin, Richard Branson, your mate Tony Robbins next week, OPRAH and Deepak Chopra's people are trying to vie for cover space. Through your process for these interviews.
Good question. So me this. I think when you have a magazine, and it took me a while to realize it, but when you have a magazine, that has a lot of weight compared to a podcast or a blog. And people take you very, very seriously, especially if you can show them that Richard Branson, you've had Arianna Huffington. So you're actually vetted. When you have some big names already, you're actually pre-vetted. So when you pitch these people, it's actually a lot easier. Like, they don't even, most of the time, they don't even ask me readership numbers, Ed. They don't even ask me.
Who was your first big name? Who was you?
Richard, so we landed Richard Branson for issue number 8.
So take us through that story, because a lot of people, oh, that's fine for Nathan. Nathan gets all the big names, and it isn't always easy. So let's how did you get that first big? Obviously, Richard saw me on the front cover. Oh my goodness! If Ed Dale is on the front cover, but in all seriousness, take us through that first big get, because I think that's something that everybody has to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, that's right. So this one I actually learnt from another MagCaster. He, in fact, interviewed Richard Branson for her name, but published it anyway. I was 2 issues. So I contacted her, and I wanted to find out how she, and we became friends. We helped lot, and she contact for Sir Richard Branson, and that was Sir Richard Branson's head of.
Yeah.
So that's quite easy, but the other ones I can take you through as well, because there's
Yeah,
a lot more.
please. You saw somebody who you knew who had actually gotten an interview with Richard Branson, so you were able
Yes.
to ask them, well, who did you speak to? Which is a
Yes.
very valuable lesson in and of itself, I think.
Yes.
And so you're able to do that. Were there any discussions about he was going to be on the front cover or anything like that? Did you offer any of those things, or was it just did you have to give a pitch, or what was the detail of it?
So I got the phone number, and this was Richard Branson's head of PR.
Yeah.
So she was the head of PR for Virgin. So that was the person I needed to speak to.
Yeah.
All of these people have gatekeepers. They're the people that say yes or no in between. And I called her up on the phone. I'll never forget that day. So much, for me, it was quite a big deal. I was like, I need this really badly. I want it to take Founder to the next level. I need this. And her up, and I remember she's in the. I'll never forget. Stumbly, nervous as all hell, probably a lot nervous than our first interview together. And as you can imagine, I was just all over the place. And I remember just saying, "Hey, my name's Nathan from the magazine that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I'd like to interview Richard, this and that." And okay, have you sent me an email? And I said no. And she's like, "Well, please understand that we get these at least 10 times a day. Just you have a couple of minutes to chat." And she's like, "Minutes, I'm about to jump onto the tube."
Yeah.
And stumbly as all hell, delivered my pitch, and she said, "Okay, well, just send me an email." And honestly, after I got off the phone, I thought, no chance it's going to happen. I still sent through that email, and it was
Yes.
a really, really good email.
Yeah.
The fact that Sir Richard Branson's first business venture was a magazine.
Yep.
And yeah, look, I just pitched, and she come back to me about 2 weeks later, and she said, yeah, he'd love to do it. I pitched for a Skype interview, but she can imagine he was really busy traveling a lot.
Yep.
We can offer his email, and I pitched for a front cover. So then I worked through with his team. So one of my writers to work through this I guess feature with me. And funnily enough, this girl I worked with at the company I used to work for. She used to actually know Richard Branson's school together. So Branson was one of her heroes. So I just got her to do the legwork, and me and her came up with questions. We sent them to, we answered those questions. We turned that into an article, and then our team to get a whole ton of images. Once we've an image for the front cover, we come up with a title for the front cover, and then we craft out the feature, put in all the other articles within that feature, and then we give it to my designer, and then off to the races.
So that extraordinary, and I think lessons to draw out was it wasn't just a simple email request, was it? It was You actually referred to the fact that look. His first entrepreneurial venture was a magazine too. That's stuff that's really, really clever, and that's really impressive. So fast forward to today, and what changed about your approaches now today compared to the very first one? So where you don't have that first contact.
Yeah. A good one now that I do is I'll give you. We got Tony Robbins for this. I'm interviewing today. I know for a fact that Tony's got a book out at the moment that he's heavily publishing and looking. So I just called up Tony Robbins on his website. You can call up or something and just speak to his people, and then you just say who you are and what you do, and then they to the correct person, and then you pitch the correct person. So to get a lot of these interviews is I find out what that person wants, strategic, because I find out how I can help them serve first, later. Look for a mutually beneficial value exchange. So, publicize his book, sales, and we've got an audience now with the younger generation, and it's a fair trade. I get 30 minutes of his time, I pick his brain, we feature him, and hopefully in turn they will potentially promote us. And I don't expect that for them to promote us, but perhaps they might, and that'll be even bigger win for us. So that, fast forward to now, that's how I approach this. So I always look what the person wants.
That's great stuff. Now, take us through planning the magazine out. Do you have a calendar, or do you have a theme? Take us through, sort of, say, the next issue that you've got coming. How far in advance do you plan it? Take us through that.
I'm getting a lot better now. Last year I was only planning a couple months ahead. This year, I said to myself, I'm going to go for whoever I want to, and I'm just till the end of this year. So we've got our editorial calendar booked up until October this year now. So I just keep pitching, and I'm always I love consuming content. I love this space. It's something I'm very passionate about. So I'm always reading, consuming content. So I know what's around the corner. Another good little trick is you can see in Amazon the pre-order list on books. So you can see, like, 3 months down the road who's got a book coming out. And from there you can prepare if you want to put that person in your magazine or whatever, or you want to interview them. So if you get them early, then it's more chance that you'll be able to interview them. So for me, I've got just an Evernote note with our editorial calendar fully mapped out. Each month we do usually 3 to 4 features per issue, 1 for the front cover, and I just start pitching. And I'm always pitching. It's just something that I proactively do now. I have a list of certain people that I want to talk to specifically, a super targeted list, and I just start working through that list slowly but surely. And then sometimes now people come to me that I in fact want to interview, and then sometimes now I can't even put them in the magazine. I put them in the podcast, and I just keep filling that calendar, and then I see if there's a fit. So for example, have you heard of the ad space?
Yes, I am familiar with that.
Yes, so that was created by a guy that was previously a monk, and it's worth millions and millions of dollars now. They've got millions of customers using this guided meditation app. It's absolutely brilliant. So, for example, I wanted to talk to him. I love it every day. So I interviewed him a few months ago, and then I randomly pitched Seth Godin, and then I interviewed him just randomly. And then this morning I interviewed Amanda Palmer. And she was fantastic. And then
my book of the year last year.
It's great. So, and then I randomly also got pitched one of our readers who's like an evangelist for this new company. This new startup called thegrid.io. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't heard of that one.
I think you might find it interesting. It's artificial intelligence for websites, and they have been all over TechCrunch, and actually even Facebook have tried to buy them out, and they declined the buy. These guys, change makers. They're all disrupting industries. So, for example, I interviewed all these people. I didn't realize it at the time, but I'm going to put it on the front cover, and then I'm going to put the other 3 in the May issue as purely focused and themed around the change makers issue. So these are just random things that I come up with on the spot depending on our interviews. And I just keep pitching, just keep working through our list of people we're targeting, and then I slot other people when I get pitches now. But just if it's a good fit, I slot them in where I can, and that's how I'm working right now.
And so it's really interview driven. So it's really identify the people that you think your audience know about, and you take it from there. How do you plan for your interviews?
Great question. I was asked that before. It depends on the person. So, for example, Amanda, when I spoke to her this morning, I had to do a lot of research. I had to read her book. I had to watch her TED Talk. I wanted to know a lot about her, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to deliver the best possible interview. But then there's some people where I do like 5 minutes worth of research because I approach it from, I don't know anything about you now. I'm just curious and I want to know more. So it just depends purely on the person and their background and their history and how I'm going to angle that interview.
And have you found over time that there are certain go-to questions you'd like to answer that your readers like to hear?
Yeah, look, I've found when it comes to content, Ed, the best content in our industry is actionable, strategical, and tactical based stuff. People love the stuff that they can take away and implement straight away, the quick wins kind of stuff. So I try and extract that kind of stuff. We have a narrative behind it,
Yep.
but I do try and delve deep. I always try and make that person to display as a human being because sometimes we put them up on a pedestal. But yeah, I do have some go-to questions. Like one of my favorites is, what did you have to get where you are today? Top 3 action items. How'd you get your first 1,000 customers from a marketing standpoint? Those are some of the questions that I really like to ask myself always, and we tend to get some good gold.
Yeah. Oh, you mentioned the podcast a couple of times, and you actually mentioned the podcast in the context of stuff I wish I'd done early. Now, I'm obviously incredibly biased and a huge fan of podcasts. Explain, how do you see the synergy of a digital publication podcast, and how do they support each other? How does that work?
Yeah, so at first I always and it was really stupid at the time, Ed, but I always thought to myself, I don't want to do a podcast. Everyone else is doing podcasts, and if all these audio interviews I'm doing, I'll just the magazine, and that will make the magazine even more valuable. I thought for a very long time, I realized that I'm actually doing a disservice to our community and to the world because amazing interviews and put them out there for free. Just create a podcast and have that as another channel. Would have you that people can find us, and it was the exact opposite of what happened. Our magazine readers actually thanked us for launching the podcast because it actually complements the magazine and kick back, or you can be commuting and going somewhere and have standing up in a packed train, or going to the gym or jogging, and you can listen to these interviews on with your earphones. So I believe now that it was a really smart and strategic move, especially from the sense that I already had the content. So right now what I'm trying to do is repurpose content as I can and let that content do more of the work for me that I've already done, and I guess kind of leverage what I already have. So, and podcasting is really hot. Like it's growing even more now. So I believe it's a brilliant way to build trust as well. It's amazing. So
yeah. I've always been a huge advocate, as you know, and I think at the end of the day, when you think about when you have your conversations with your best friends or loved ones, they're hearing your voice in their ear. So the psychology of that is very powerful, and I think and I think what some people and I think building trust. Because, with my, nasty marketer's hat on, they aren't very good for getting people to do things. And the reason for that is that typically you are listening to them when you're doing something else. You are jogging. And so to try find a website or buy something, or, it takes real effort. There was an app that I heard mentioned in a podcast just before I was speaking to you. There was an app I heard mentioned this morning, and it sounded really good. It was this app that you put in you wanted to run, the location, it plans out a random running map for you, which will your house and then bring you back here to your house. Distance. Find it. It's on this. There were no show notes with the podcast, and when I was out, I was walking the dog when I heard it. So I'm going to have to go back and have a listen to it because I'm really keen to see what that is. But it struck me as a great lesson. The other thing that you've been doing, which has really, I was amazed. We had before Christmas, and you showed me this, and I was flabbergasted. Instagram. I have 3 daughters, so I know Instagram. It is this book was genius buying it because it's the social network of completely different generations of people who are on Facebook. But I didn't think, I honestly did not think that it would be a useful tribe building marketing tool. So explain to people just how wrong I have been about this, and give us a bit of your background. You told me the numbers because it's quite extraordinary.
Okay. Long story short, built Founder up to be able to leave my job, replace my income. We were going okay.
Can I ask you about just the Instagram? Because I did mean to ask you that. Did you have a figure in mind that if I get to this amount, then I'm going to hand in my resignation? Is that how that went?
Yep.
How did you feel when it hit that amount?
I was super excited. I'm super scared. I second guessed myself so often. I had to have the CEO of the company that I worked for tell me that it was time for me to move on, and if I don't leave now, my job will always be there for me. How much more validation?
Yeah, wow.
Because I was so scared.
Yeah.
Because you have this security. It's just planted in your mind by society.
Yeah. Like being really having to get yourself out of bed. What changes there to pass on about that transition?
Yeah, I found it extremely difficult because I was used to thrash 7 p.m. onwards till about 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And for the first month, I could only get active from 7 to 1 p.m. So it took me quite a while to readjust. And, when I wake up, I can just work.
Yeah.
Just time, I guess. Just time. Just be patient. I think that's advice when you're transitioning.
Yeah. Very good. So back to this thing. Give us the background of it, the history. Tell us the story.
Yeah. So I left my job. That's about 7-8 months ago now, and things were going okay with the magazine, but I wasn't getting rapid growth. We were kind of stagnant, not too stagnant, but it was growing, but too slow. I just left my job, and I wanted to grow faster. That was the plan. And long story short, about 4 months before I left my job, a reader of the founder, contacted me and said, "Hey, I've got an opportunity for you on Instagram. I have a 20,000 Instagram page, 20,000 followers page. I can promote a cover." Okay, I'll give it a try. So I paid him $30, and he shouted out the magazine, but it didn't work. And the core lesson there was, you can only have one clickable, and that's in your page's profile. And we were trying to push to a link, we posted the photo, then we just had as the caption for the photo, go to foundermag.com/iTunes or /Android, and nobody did that. If people can't click, you have to make things as easy as possible for people.
Yep.
What we should have done in retrospect was post the cover, but then push people to follow our Founder Magazine page, and then we capture them by their following us, and they re-engage with our content, then eventually click on the link, and off they go. So that was a fail. So I threw Instagram down the window. but then I was looking at an intern to help me with some stuff, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to get him to manage our Instagram. So on our Instagram page, we were at 500 followers. I hadn't posted in a year or something, and I did a couple of posts, and then I saw out in our Google Analytics, our sales spiked, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on here?" And then a few days, I just kept posting, and I guess every time I post, a spike in what I'm going to do. I spoke to that guy, and I looked at that guy, the Instagram page from Melbourne, and as everything that approach, I try and find people that know something or a lot more than me about a certain thing. So I caught up with him and I said, let's catch up. About 5 months later, it was at like 80,000 followers. So I'm like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. I got to catch up, find out what he knows, and learn from him and help him however I can. And long story short, it led me down this path to rapidly grow our Instagram page from zero at almost 75,000 followers in about 15 weeks. And it's been a massive channel.
You were just
for
about to hit
magazine.
50,000 at Christmas, so that's
Yeah.
unbelievable. So it's growing stuff.
We're getting 1,000 followers, and it's been a massive, massive channel for the magazine. And the reason why that is because it was like it's like the dream customer acquisition channel if you have an app. You know, founders targeting young people. It's about business. So the kind of content we post is like motivational quotes, facts, and stuff. And what makes it so awesome is people only Instagram on their phones. You cannot post unless you're on your mobile. You can view content on your tablet. Instagram don't even have a proper app for tablets. You have to use the iPhone version. And yeah, you cannot post content. So you can only view content on your computer or your iPad. So on your phone, post content. So everyone looks at Instagram on their phone. So if somebody finds something related to like business related and they find our stuff, then more likely than not, they just click through and they go straight to the Apple landing page. So they don't even have to, jump any hoops. They just go straight to our iTunes landing page, and then they see, we've got.
So just to clarify for people who don't understand what you're saying there, so your actual link, that one link that you're allowed in your profile, is actually a direct link to the on the App Store, which has your app, so they can download straight. There's a gold tip right there.
Yeah. So I've made it simple as possible to jump to go. That's been a game. Instagram's been a game changer for us.
I often see this, I've got 100,000 followers. I've got 50,000 followers. I'm just jealous because I think I've got 1,000 followers on Instagram because I only post pictures. But we were talking about email lists, and you were saying you weren't building email. So give us one practical example of, because you're building Instagram list at this pace, let's take it through, because it's not just your ego boost that you've got 70,000 likes. You're translating this into significant stuff and sales. Give us one example. Maybe the email example would be awesome.
Yeah, sure. So I was pretty much everyone's asking me how I'm doing this course, and part of creating that course, I wanted to show people what was possible for Instagram. So I landing page. So instead of pushing them to the Apple our app page,
yeah,
pushing them to that because Apple can't track it for us. I just wanted to prove to people how to landing page. I set up a totally new segmented list, and I'm getting anywhere between now, like in the past week since I've been running this test, I've had close to 1,000 opt-ins just from Instagram, and I'm only getting
how much? Sorry, just for those following along at home, to build that list.
$0.
See, that's remarkable, and that is literally because for a lot of I'm tipping the demographic. Most people like me are not down with the Instagram thing, right? And it's a bit out of our demographic. But in terms of users, that's very silly because the user demographic is extraordinary. And I think what you're doing, you are literally translating. You're building a list at 100 plus people a day from just the link, the profile link that's attached to your Instagram account. And I can think of digital publishers. If you've got a horse magazine, you could do inspirational horse photos and quotes. You could do you have somebody do those for you? Do you have somebody in-house do those? How do you build your little quotes? Because they're very good there. And I must say, by the way, before we go any further, what is your Instagram, what do they call it? Call sign, username?
Handle. Yeah,
Handle. I got it
handle.
there.
Yeah.
I got there in the end. What
Yeah.
is your Instagram handle so people can have a look at your Instagram?
Founder Magazine.
Right, and spelt without the E, remember,
Yep.
people, because it's trendy and hip. Um, but I must say, the quality of your and your quote stuff is, like, again, top notch, like your magazine.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that. And is it the same designer that does all those? Have you got a different process, or you
Yeah,
just
different process. I try and keep my designs the for the magazine and other branding collateral.
yeah?
I've got a guy in the Philippines that I get him to do batches. So like I'll give him a Word document with 100 quotes, and I'll get him to do them for Facebook, Twitter, and the Facebook sizes are the same as the Instagram sizes. So I repack a lot of that content. So a lot of the content that we Instagram can actually be found on our other channels, and I use certain channels to test which are the most successful images. So if they get a good response on Facebook, I'll most likely put them on our Instagram. So that's one way I get those quotes and have, we've got hundreds of them, and I just repurpose them. And then another way is I get my girlfriend to the me. You can use this app called Word Swag, and you can churn out some really
Really nice.
professional
Yeah.
looking stuff, and put in your watermark, and it looks great. And then the another thing and this comes back to a strategy when it comes to growth, is we do a lot of things called share for shares, S for S, where we get other related accounts to repost our photo, and then we will repost their photo, and that actually really helps fuel the growth of your page. Um, so a lot of the content isn't always ours; it's other people's as well.
Of course. Here, where do people are people able to? Where's the best place for them to find out? In Instagram, where can they go to have a check out your course?
Yeah, so a lot of people ask me how I'm doing this, so I launched
Yes.
a course. It's our first course. I never thought I'd go into training products ed, but it's what our community is asking for, to give it to them. So a round of beta testers. If you want to sign up to the waiting, go to foundermag.com, foundrmag.com /get IG. IG. There'll be a countdown list. There'll be a countdown timer for when we're teaching the course again after we've gone out of that beta round.
Yeah, I definitely. I will definitely be having a look at that myself. So, for sure, make sure you jump on that, everybody, because it's marvelous. And it just goes to show there are so many. I'm sure things like Pinterest, for example. There are so many ways, but I think that the thing is to not go in there like a bull at a china shop, like most marketers want to do anytime they see a new thing. Like, is to really understand that community. What content gets shared? What do people like doing? What because it really is quite phenomenal. Yeah, and the fact that there's a really, really legit. It's been years. 600 free opt-ins a day, targeted opt-in. That's like last century almost. Before without having to it really is quite extraordinary, and a lot of people will have just dismissed Instagram as something that their teenage daughters do, and that would be a crazy thing. Well, mate, thank you so much for your time here. Before I let you go, though, out of your book, and I was wondering, like, for digital publishers, if there are 3 pieces of advice that you could give them that maybe you wish somebody had given you when you started out.
I think I think number one would be look to build that email list. I think that's very, very critical.
Hallelujah.
Understand that the magazine is just one of the puzzle. we've seen massive success with Founder, and that will always be our front end product. That's like the face of the business. However, there's many other channels. Building Founder's much more than a magazine now. It's a media brand. We have so that would be one piece of advice. Build that email list to get really good at. Also, develop a website that's quite comprehensive that you're producing great content on. I think that's going to be a game changer. And yeah, lastly, just look to repurpose as much as you can. Don't you want to leverage, you want to have leverage. So you don't want to be doing so many things. So if you produce one piece of content, it can be turned into a podcast, it can be turned into a blog post, it can be turned into an infographic, it can be turned into a shareable. So many things you can do with one piece of content. You can turn it. Yeah, so try to look to repurpose content wherever you can, because your content right now is where it's at.
Yeah. That is fantastic pieces of advice. Thank you very much, mate. And to find all that there is to know about the world of Founder magazine and Nathan Chan, the best is
just foundermag.com.
Spelt without an E, of course.
Yeah.
Because it's trendier that way.
Yep.
Very good. Well, mate, I am so proud of you. Like, seriously, it's an extraordinary journey, and it's only just starting when you think about it, and where you can go and where you're thinking. So thank you very much. This has been a really useful and inspirational interview for a lot of people. So thank you very much for that, and we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, look, thank you so much for having me, Ed. It's an absolute honor to be on the other side of the mic 2 years down the track, and it was a blast.
The grasshopper has taken the rock out of my hand. Very good. All right, mate. Thanks very much.
You're awesome. Also, just before you go,
Yep.
I didn't mention on that email piece we use MailChimp, and that's double. We still have the double opt-in. Once I move to Infusionsoft, we won't have the double opt-in, and I think we'll get a lot more emails a day.
Huh. So that's that's double opt-in emails.
Yep.
Wow. Very impressive. There's a nice little coda. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll speak soon. And hello, everybody. And how about that? Oh, as he off this. And I'm sorry, my mic is a little bit crackly. Apologies about that. What an extraordinary interview. What an extraordinary young man. I get to say that these days because I'm old. But hey, that's okay. Still swing it with the young kids and stream live. Please. YouTube comments are below. You can leave feedback there. And again, apologies if the is a little bit. We'll fix that in another version of this. We do this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern USA time. That's 5 p.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. in Australia. The replays will be up on the YouTube channel, and I'll let you know about that. Please tweet me at @ed_Dale. I would love to hear what you think. Feedback is very important. It's an as we go in the run into Challenge 10, a decade of the challenge, I want this to be incredibly useful. If you're somebody who would like to be interviewed for the broadcast, I'd love to hear from you as well. Maybe hit me up with a tweet and we can take that offline and do that. Again, to get notifications and so on, make sure you hit subscribe to the channel. You just under the window here somewhere, you'll see the big red subscribe button. Please hit that so you get notified of new videos. And I want to mix it up. I'm testing this all out, and we might do some short little tip videos and things like that as well. Please, if you like what you've seen here, please hit the like button below. That certainly helps, and let's face it, feeds my ego, which is very, very important indeed. As healthy as that ego already is. Could always use more boosting, for sure. Thank you again to Gideon Chadwick, who has been the inspiration for all of this, and we'll be hearing from Gideon in a future episode of Eddale Live. And that is it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. Tell your friends, tell your family, tweet, like, all that cool stuff, and we will speak again next week. Now, all I've got to do is figure out how to turn but maybe one more Luna just for ending things off. All right, folks, speak soon.